Mm. Boy, it's taking so long. Marisa is going to go to a house in Venice to pick up the dog.
Yeah.
It rings the bell at the house in Venice.
Yeah.
How the owner will say by himself upstairs before coming downstairs, looking looking through the window in the lounge next to the kitchen with the dog's in the kitchen downstairs. How the owner will say by himself upstairs when Marisa rings the bell.
The doorbell's ringing.
How the owner will say.
He say, I think that might be Marissa.
It comes downstairs.
Am I telling the story or are you telling it?
I'm going to tell you. So go through, look out the window in the lounge next to the kitchen. How when it looks out the window, how the owner will say by himself.
They say, oh, that's Marissa.
How he will say to the dog before opening the door.
They say, come on, dog, Marissa's at the door.
They open the door. How Marisa and the owner will say to the dog. How both they will say to the dog.
They both say to the dog, are you ready to go on holiday? And you must be very good.
They're going to ring the bell at the house in Venice. At the house in Venice.
Yeah, no, she's rang the bell and they've gone to the door.
And then takes the taxi from the house to the airport in Venice. How would say to the taxi driver?
You say, please, taxi driver, take us to the airport.
Because explain why.
We're going on holiday for 7 nights.
When they arrive at the airport in Venice, how Marisa and the taxi driver will say to the dog. Both will say to the dog.
I hope you have a good holiday and be good, dog.
Then wait for 2 hours and go to have a drink at the airport in Venice.
Yeah, but they get to the airport quite early, so they go and decide to have a drink.
Yeah.
They sit there and enjoy a Coca-Cola and a cake.
Yeah. How will say to the waiter at the airport in Venice?
You say, please bring me a Coke without ice and a nice chocolate cake.
How the waiter will say?
Yes, madam. I'll get that to you in 5 minutes.
Then the waiter brings when they finish drinking and eating. How will say to the dog?
We need to get ready to go to the gate to board the plane.
The announcement comes up at the airport in Venice for the flight to Lisbon.
Yeah.
How the announcement will say?
So, ladies and gentlemen, anyone boarding the flight to Lisbon, please go to gate number 16.
How Marisa will say to the dog?
Say, we need to hurry because the plane's boarding, so we need to get to gate 16.
And go through the tunnel.
And they go through the tunnel.
They're going to sit when the announcement comes up when the plane is about to take off.
Yep, so they sit on the plane and then the announcement says, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about to take off. Please make sure your seat belts are fastened and your window shutters are up.
Yeah.
And so Marissa says to the dog, put your seat belt on and make sure it's tight, ready for takeoff.
Then when the plane takes off, how Marisa will say to the dog?
And Marissa will say, well, the flight is
when the plane is up in the air.
Yeah, when the plane's up in the air.
How Marisa will say to the dog?
She'll ask the dog whether he wants a drink while he's on the plane.
Yeah, and the dog wants to drink. Yes, wants to drink in the plane.
Yeah, he says he'll have a nice cup of tea. So when the stewardess comes round
Yeah.
And they sit on the plane and they enjoy the ride, and then the announcement comes.
When announcement comes up? Why?
We are just starting to descend to Lisbon.
So?
Please make sure your seatbelts are secure.
Yes.
And get ready for landing.
How Marisa will say to the dog?
So you need to put your seatbelt on. We're not allowed to get out the chair now.
Because
we're going to be landing in a minute.
When the plane lands in Lisbon.
Then she says that they get off and they go to the taxis.
When the plane lands in Lisbon, how Marisa will say to the dog? How Marisa will say to the dog when the plane lands in Lisbon?
We're in Lisbon now. We're on holiday, and we've come on holiday for 7 nights.
And go through the tunnel and takes a taxi. How will say to the taxi driver of Lisbon?
Please take us to the Hotel Continental.
How the taxi driver will say?
Yes, madam. It will take you 5 minutes.
When I arrive at the hotel, how Marisa and the taxi driver will say to the dog, both will say to the dog.
Well, they said, have a nice holiday and be good, dog.
Then gets inside the hotel. How Marisa will say to the dog when gets inside the hotel? Before going up to the 5th floor.
Yeah, she goes to the reception desk.
Before going up.
And says we'd like to book in for our holiday. And the woman says you're on the 5th floor.
Yeah.
Here's your key card.
Yeah.
And so she takes the lift.
Yeah.
To the 5th floor.
When I rise to the 5th floor, how Marisa will say to the dog when it gets to the 5th floor?
She said, this is our room.
When it gets inside the room, how will say to the dog?
Right. I need to remind you to be a very good dog on this holiday. And not do anything naughty.
But when it's 2 o'clock in the morning, the dog from Venice is going to drop the CD player from the balcony from the 5th floor at the hotel in Lisbon to the ground floor in the dark at 2 o'clock in the morning when Marisa is sleeping in the dark 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So night porter hears this big bang.
Who?
Night porter.
He gets up.
And he gets up and he has a look and he sees CD
a man gets up.
Yeah.
There's a light on in the corridor.
Yeah. And he gets up.
How the man will say by himself?
He'll say, oh my goodness, what's this broken CD player doing here? And then he looks up and he sees the dog standing from the 5th floor.
It drops and then goes to the room. It drops from
so he goes up to the room and he knocks on.
How the man will say by himself when they turn the lights on? How the man will say by himself when
that's a very naughty dog to have done that.
It goes upstairs and knocks on the door. How Marisa will say by herself when the man knocks on the door on the 5th floor?
Well, they would say.
Before opening the door, how Marisa will say by herself before opening the door?
Well, the man says to her, "Is this your dog?" And Marissa says, "Yes, it is." And he explains that the dog has dropped this CD player of the lady from the 5th floor to the ground floor. And Marissa says, "I'm very angry with you, dog, doing this, and it's going to cost all our money. So we were going to stay here for 7 nights, but we can only stay here for 1 night.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to take you back to your owner."
How Marisa will say by herself before opening the door to the man. Before opening the door to the man. Before opening the door to the man.
Before opening the door.
Before opening.
Well, she'd wonder who's that knocking on the door at 2 o'clock in the morning. When everyone should be sleeping.
Yeah. So
then she opens the door and the man tells her about what the dog has done.
yeah.
And Marissa's very angry because it's now going to cost all the holiday money to pay back
Yeah.
the lady to have a new CD player.
Yeah. And after breakfast, they takes the dog to the airport in Lisbon. After breakfast.
Yeah, after breakfast.
How will say to the dog after breakfast?
So right, you're going back to your owner. I'm going to send you back on the plane to your owner for being such a bad dog.
And takes a taxi. How will say to the taxi driver?
So can you please take us to the airport, taxi driver? And the taxi driver said, yes, madam. I will get you there in 5 minutes.
They're going to explain why.
He says, I'm taking this dog to send back to its owner because it's been very naughty and it dropped a CD player of a lady from the 5th floor to the ground floor and smashed it. How does the taxi driver say? Well, that is a very naughty dog.
When it gets to the airport in Lisbon, how Marisa and the taxi driver will say to the dog, both they will say to the dog.
They both say, come on dog, you'll have to go back, you've been a very, very naughty dog.
And gets inside the airport in Lisbon, and the announcement comes up.
And the announcement comes up saying people wanting to board the flight to
Venice.
Please go to gate number 3.
And it takes the dog going through the tunnel, and the dog will go on his own to Venice.
Yeah. So she says, right, I'm not coming with you. I'm going to put you on this flight, and your owner will be waiting for you when you get to the other side.
The announcement comes up when the plane's about to take off.
Yeah, and the plane's just about to take off. and it says, ladies and gentlemen and dogs, please make sure your seatbelt is secure because we're just about to take off to Venice.
Yeah.
The dog does his seatbelt up.
When the plane is up in the air.
When the plane's up in the air, the dog sits there very quiet because he knows he's been very naughty and he knows he's going to get told off when he sees his owner. So he sits there very quiet.
The announcement comes out when the plane's about to land in Venice.
Yeah, and when the plane's just about to land in Venice,
Yeah.
the announcement comes up and says, ladies and gentlemen, we are just starting to descend into Venice. Please buckle your seatbelt up and please do not leave your seat while we are landing.
When it has landed, and the dog goes through the tunnel. How the owner will say inside the airport.
The owner will be there, and he sees the dog, and he said, I'm very angry with you, dog, for being such a naughty dog. So you're going to have to go home and go in your kennel for 24 hours with no food, nothing. For being so naughty.
He gets in the car, arrives home.
Yeah.
When I arrives home, in Venice, how will say to the dog?
He'd say, get indoors and get outside to that kennel and stay there for 24 hours.
Then when 24 hours goes past, how the owner will say to the dog?
Then he'd say, you can come out now. Are you sorry for what you've done? And the dog says, yes, I'm really sorry. And so the dog's allowed to come out, and he gives the dog some breakfast.
Yeah.
Because the dog's very hungry because he hasn't had any food for 24 hours.
Then Marisa will go to a house in Venice again.
Yeah, so then
when 1 month goes past.
When 1 month goes past, she comes again.
Rings the bell. How the owner will say by himself upstairs before coming downstairs.
The owner will say, oh, somebody's just rang the doorbell.
Yeah, before
You have to have a look to see who that is. So he looks out the lounge window.
Yeah.
And he sees Marissa. So he says,
how will say how the owner will say by himself in the lounge.
So he says, oh, that's Marissa.
how will say to the dog before opening the door?
Come on, dog. What is the dog's name?
No name.
Come on, Rover.
No name. No name.
All right.
How will say to the dog before opening the door?
We say, come on, dog. Marissa's here to take you on holiday.
Go open the door. How Marisa and the owner will say to the dog, both will say to the dog.
So they open the door, and Marissa and the owner says to the dog, right, you're going to go on holiday again, but this time you have to be extremely good, or you'll have to come back and go back in that kennel again for being naughty.
Then takes the taxi. How will say to the taxi driver of Venice?
Please, taxi driver, take me to the airport. And he says, yes, madam, I'll get you there in 5 minutes.
When I arrive at the airport in Venice, how Marisa and the taxi driver will say to the dog, both will say to the dog.
They both say as he's getting out, right, dog, now be good this time and have a nice holiday.
And goes inside the airport and goes to have a wait for 2 hours and goes to have a drink.
Wait 2 hours.
Goes to have a drink, Coke and muffin.
Alright, they had a Coke.
How will you say to the waiter?
So please can you bring us Coca-Cola and a chocolate muffin?
How the waiter will say?
Yes, madam, I'll go and get that for you now.
When it brings how Marisa will say to the dog when the waiter brings.
And the waiter brings it, she says to the dog, right, enjoy the muffin and the Coke because we'll need to get on board the plane soon.
When they finish drinking, how will say to the dog?
Hang on.
When they finish drinking, how will say to the dog?
So they finish their drink, and then there was an announcement.
How the announcement will say?
The announcement said, ladies and gentlemen, anyone boarding the plane to Lisbon, please go to gate number 26.
How Marisa will say to the dog?
So Marissa said to the dog, oh, right, that's our plane, come on.
And goes through the tunnel.
And they go through the tunnel, they walk through the tunnel.
And they're going to
They sit on the plane.
the announcer comes up when the plane's about to take off.
Yeah.
How the announcer will come up?
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are just about to take off. Please secure your seatbelts and put your window shutters up.
Yeah.
And please do not leave your seat while we take off.
How Marisa will say to the dog?
And then she says to the dog, quickly put your seatbelt on and be good.
Because when the plane's up in the air, how will say to the dog?
So while they're up in the air, Marissa said, would you like a drink?
Dog, yeah.
And the dog says, yes, please.
Drink. What else?
And a bag of crisps.
Yeah.
So
They're going to have.
Yeah, they're going to have a nice black tea and a bag of McCoy crisps.
The announcement comes up when the plane's about to land in Lisbon.
Yeah.
How the announcement come up?
It comes up and says, ladies and gentlemen, we are just going to descend into Lisbon.
How will say to the dog?
So then they say, she says, do your seatbelt up, dog, because we're just going to land in a minute.
And when it has landed, how will say to the dog?
When it's landed, he said,
when it has landed.
When it's landed, they said, ladies and gentlemen, we have just landed in Lisbon. Please take all your belongings with you and disembark the plane.
how will say to the dog?
So come on, dog, we need to go.
And go through and be walking through the tunnel.
Yeah, they walk through the tunnel.
And take the taxi to how would they say to the taxi driver of Lisbon?
Hang on, got all these bikers in my way. So then they go through the tunnel and they get to the taxi station, and Marissa said to the taxi driver, please can you take us to the hotel? And the taxi driver said, yes madam, I will get you there in 5 minutes. So the dog and Marissa get into the taxi with their luggage and get driven to the hotel.
When they arrive at the hotel, how Marissa and the taxi driver will say to the dog, both will say to the dog when.
So when they get to the hotel, Marissa says to the dog, we've arrived here, this is our hotel for 7 nights. And the taxi driver said, make sure you're good this time, dog.
And how will say to the dog when gets inside the hotel before going up to the 5th floor?
Hang on, I've got to concentrate, I've got all these bikes in my way.
How will say to the dog before going up the 5th floor?
So they go to the reception desk and said, we've come to check in. Oh God, there's bikes everywhere.
We come.
We've come to check in
And
for our holiday because we're staying here for 7 nights. And the lady says, yes, here's your key card and you're staying on the 5th floor.
and when it's going up, how will say to the dog when going up, when they're both going up to the 5th floor?
So they get in the lift.
Yes.
And she says to the dog, we're staying on the 5th floor. So this time, like we did before. So she said, this time you have to be very good.
When it gets to the 5th floor, how will say to the dog?
Oh, this is our room. So she opens the bedroom.
How when they open the bedroom?
Key card.
When they open when they goes inside the room and they both inside the room, how will say to the dog?
And then she shows the dog round the room and shows the dog which bed's his bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And says we're staying here for 7 nights, so we must enjoy it.
When it's approaching, and then it goes to the airport to have lunch and also to have dinner at the airport in Lisbon.
Yeah. So they go to the airport.
Gets inside, gets to the hotel at 9 o'clock in the morning. When it's approaching midday, the call taxi driver, and also when it's approaching dinner time.
Yeah, they call the taxi driver.
Every day.
Every day, every lunchtime, and every dinner time, and the taxi driver takes.
How goes every day when it's approaching midday? Calls the taxi driver. Hello.
Going there for lunch.
How will say?
And they say, yes madam, the airport's only 5 minutes away.
The taxi driver arrives in the 5th floor and knocks on the door. How Marisa will say by herself before opening the door. Before opening the door.
Before opening the door.
Yeah, before.
Well, they said.
Before.
She says, oh, somebody's knocking on the door, dog. It must be the taxi driver. Come on.
I'll open the door. I'll open the door.
And she opens the door and it's the taxi driver and she says, hello sir, are you here to take us to the airport for lunch? And he said, yes madam, please follow me. The car is ready. So
go downstairs.
Yeah, they go
walking downstairs.
Yeah, they go downstairs and they get in the taxi and they go to the airport and they order their lunch.
Yeah, I hear all the announcements for different flights. And then they're going to hear
lots of announcements going on for different flights. Marissa said to the dog.
How how the announcements will come up for different flights. They will both Marisa and the dog hear all the announcements for different flights, both.
Yeah, and they both said, "Oh, that's not for us because we're not going home."
How the announcements will come?
Said, ladies and gentlemen, America is just about to take off. Please go to gate number 54.
Yeah. Then and how Marisa will say to the dog?
She'll say, "Oh, that's not us because we're going back to the hotel.
We're coming for lunch.
We've just come for lunch."
When we finish lunch, how will say to the dog?
Right, we need to get our taxi. The taxi driver's waiting to take us back to the hotel.
Yeah. How will say to the taxi driver?
Please take us back to the hotel.
Then it goes to the we'll go to the airport in Lisbon to have dinner.
Yeah, then they go.
How then they say to the taxi driver to pick up the Marisa and the dog when it's approaching dinner time. When it's approaching dinner time.
Oh, she says that we're going to go to the airport for dinner, so we must get a taxi.
That says to the taxi driver to pick us up.
Yeah, and the taxi driver's.
How will say to the taxi?
Well, she asked the taxi driver at lunchtime to pick her up.
How ask?
For dinner.
How are they going to ask?
She said, "Can you be at the hotel and pick us up to take us to dinner at 6 o'clock in the evening?"
To have dinner at the airport in Lisbon.
Yeah.
How the taxi driver will say?
"Yes, madam. Please get in the car and I'll get you there in 5 minutes."
Then get off the taxi and goes upstairs and arrives at the 5th floor and goes inside the room. How Marisa will say to the dog when goes inside the room in the 5th floor. How Marisa?
Right, she says it's bedtime now, and I expect you to be very, very good.
When I arrive at the room, when they finish lunch at the airport in Lisbon.
Yeah, but they finished dinner now.
How will say to the dog? How will say to the dog before going to have dinner at the airport in Lisbon?
Well, you tell the dog to be good, will you?
When it's approaching dinner time.
And she says, "Come on, we need to go."
The taxi driver knocks on the door. How Marisa will say by herself before opening the door.
Oh, that's the taxi driver.
Open the door.
And she opens the door and says, "Come on, dog, are you ready? We've got to go and get in the taxi because we're going for dinner."
Dinner where?
At the airport.
Dinner every day lunch.
Every lunch and every day while they were on holiday for 7 nights, they went for dinner and they went for lunch at the airport, and the dog was really good.
Every day lunch at the airport in Lisbon, and every day dinner at the airport in Lisbon. Arrives at the airport to have dinner, and then all the announcement comes up for different flights. How all the announcement comes up at the airport in Lisbon.
There's lots of different flights going out. And
how all the announcement will come up?
Ladies and gentlemen, the flight to England is leaving.
The flight from
going to England.
The flight going to England. The flight going.
It's just about to take off. Please go to gate number 22. And Marisa says, and the dog says, that's not for us because we're still on holiday. We've just come to the airport to have our dinner.
When they're having dinner, for the flight to Venice, and also for the flight, and also for the flight to Paris.
Yeah, different flights.
Announcement for the flight to Venice when they're having dinner. How the announcement will come up?
I don't know. How did it come up?
You tell me, please.
You tell me.
Yeah, you tell me.
Right, we're nearly home in a minute, so we're finish the story.
when they're having dinner, the announcement comes up for the flight to Venice. How the Marisa will say to the dog?
Marissa will say
For the flight
to Paris is just about to take off, so she tells the dog, oh, that's nothing to do with us.
And then also for the flight to Venice.
And the flight to Venice is just about to take off, and she said, that's not us, because we've only come for dinner.
Yeah, and also for the flight to London. How Marisa will say?
Oh, flight to London. She says that's not us either, because we're staying here for dinner.
When 7 nights goes past, how will say to the dog? When 7 nights goes past, how will say to the dog?
She'll say it's time for us to go back to the airport.
They takes a taxi to the airport. How will say to the taxi driver?
Yeah, so they take the taxi to the airport.
How will say to the taxi driver?
And they said, please take us to the airport, and the taxi driver says, yes, madam, I'll get you there in 5 minutes.
Well,
so they get in the car and they go to the airport.
When the taxi driver arrives at the airport, how Marisa and the taxi driver will say to the dog? How both will say to the dog when they arrive at the airport in Lisbon?
It says, but we've arrived at the airport and we're going to go home, so we've got to get in and wait for the announcement for the. And
then they go to have a drink and to eat muffin at the airport in Lisbon.
Yeah, so they sit there and they have a nice.
I wait for 2 hours.
They wait 2 hours and have a nice Coca-Cola and a chocolate muffin while they're waiting.
When 2 hours goes past, announcements comes up. How will the announcement say?
And the announcement said, ladies and gentlemen, the flight to Lisbon is due to take off. Please go to gate number 3.
How Marisa will say to the dog?
Come on, we've got to go. That's our flight.
And the dog goes on his own.
Oh, so she puts the dog.
How Marisa will say to the dog when the announcement comes up for the flight to Venice?
She says, your flight's ready. And she says, I'm going to let you fly. You're going to go and fly home on your own. But thank you for being such a good dog.
Then the announcement comes up when the plane's about to take off.
It says, ladies and gentlemen and dogs, please make sure you put your seatbelt on and put your window shutter up, and do not leave your seat while we're just about to take off.
When the announcement comes up, when the plane is about to land in Venice, how the announcement come up?
Yeah, well, the announcement comes up and says we're just about to arrive
in Venice.
In Venice.
So. So
please put your seatbelt on because we're just about to arrive in Venice. So the dog puts his seatbelt on.
Yeah.
And the plane lands.
An announcement comes up when the plane has landed.
Yeah, it says that we have now landed in Venice, in Lisbon.
Yeah.
So the plane lands and the dog gets off the plane.
It goes through the tunnel.
It goes through the tunnel and his owner's waiting for him.
How will say to the dog?
Well done for being such a good boy.
The good dog.
The good dog.
When I arrive home in Venice, how will say to the dog?
It says, I'm going to give you a special treat for being such a good dog. What's that?
Wrong with that.
Like this on the left.